So what's sort of your elevator pitch you say to family or skeptics when they say there's no value in crypto or in Bitcoin?
Yeah, like it's an interesting one. I think it is a bit of a journey, unfortunately, for a lot of people to understand like what is value, and that's starting very philosophical. But look, at the end of the day, I sort of view the whole broad industry as highly speculative growth asset class. Like every cycle, you could call it, every 4 years, we see a new flavor of that period. There's very little staying power with coins outside of Bitcoin. I kind of challenge that. Really, Bitcoin, honestly, stable coins are probably now the two leading use cases in the crypto space. And, while things like Ethereum has come along and laid, I guess, what you'd call almost like a digital bedrock of an economy online, it's still not prone to being superseded by something else. Like we've got Solana being a challenger brand for the last couple of years now, touting better transaction speeds, better use from a consumer perspective. But then again, like what's to say there's not something else that comes along in 4 years' time and is the next best thing, right? So that's where I think the underlying foundational tech of what they're doing, like building like decentralized finance. So, creating like peer-to-peer lending markets, I think that's something that's going to stick. I think there's value there, but as opposed to what token is going to have the lion's share of the market moving forward for the next 20, 30 years, or if we're even around for that long, I still think that's up for debate. So for me, when I think about intrinsic value, I think holistically what the market is trying to achieve, broadly speaking, is very bullish. Like I think there's no way it doesn't get adopted in mainstream, because at the end of the day, like there was in the A16Z report that we read out 2 weeks ago, I think it was, even wire transfers between banks, they could save, I think it was 10x in fees if they just adopted blockchain technology. So like even if they created like a only them bank-to-bank network where no one else could really jump in and cause trouble in the ruckus, why wouldn't they do that if they could halve their costs? Well, more than halve their costs, right? So so little things like that show me that there is demand. There's going to be demand, right? But when we're talking actual intrinsic value, Bitcoin, very simply, limited supply. It's accessible by anyone, anywhere. And it is completely run off its own book. Like it's literally a group of people that make sure that it operates and it runs. A whole country could fall off the face of the planet, and there's still a whole network of other computers that'll take it up and make sure it keeps running. Store of value, really. So you think about $1 million of Bitcoin versus holding $1 million of gold. Like if you just take away the price movement part of it all, it's going to be a lot easier to handle $1 million worth of Bitcoin digitally than $1 million of gold physically. And that's where I think the custody piece too as well, in a place where, people are looking to hold assets themselves. They don't necessarily maybe trust banks and other institutions. I think that's where Bitcoin really holds its role as well. But if you're trying to just think about it very fundamentally, like where does the intrinsic value come from? I just would, especially to like people I've spoken to in the past, when I explain it like, we pull oil out of the ground and there's only so much oil we can pull out. We pull gold out of the ground, there's only so much gold. Bitcoin's not any different, really. It's every 10 minutes, close a block, new coins get issued. There's a set fixed amount. I would say blockchain, or Bitcoin, specifically, is probably more transparent because, think about an oil company, think about a gold company, even think about a farmer putting grain in a silo. Like they're holding onto their stock until the market is at a price that they're happy with to potentially go and sell it onto and create supply. So, when Bitcoin is being mined, it's ready to go. Like some people could be holding onto it, but we know that there's a fixed amount coming out of the network every given day. So for me, I just think it's a more transparent way of operating. Again, it's global. There's not really anyone that can't get access to it in some way, shape or form. Seeing huge adoption across those developing nations. Like we keep tying back to those stats as well. So that's like my really rounded, hopefully, answer on like where things are going, what I think matters and doesn't matter, and why Bitcoin has value.
I think you're absolutely spot on. And like just to strip it back a bit,
you said you're going to challenge me.
I will challenge you in a sec. But to strip it back, I try and split out Bitcoin and crypto. And you could probably, like you said, you could probably rope in the stable coins and group them in with Bitcoin because Bitcoin, what it does is, in simple terms, I think it has the scarcity of gold or a similar scarcity of gold and the utility of fiat currency. Because people always ask, well, why wouldn't I just buy gold? It's like, well, can you send gold overseas, in an instant?
Can you hold on to it yourself?
Can you pay your rent in gold? Not really. It's there as a store of value to sit in a safe somewhere. to accrue value over time. So, and then it's like, why we already have, the Australian dollar to go buy your groceries at the grocery store. It's like, well, yes, but also can you, like, as you said, international transfers, if I want to send money overseas, it's costly, it's it's very slow, foreign exchange, converting AUD into USD potentially, but then it also solves the problem of inflation. Key issue in the last few years, especially after COVID and just the money printer was turning on, and we've pretty much suffered since then. And so Bitcoin, as you said, scarce supply, and it's mined, at a pretty consistent rate every single day. So it pretty much solves that issue of inflation. Obviously it goes up and down in value, and that's because it's still a very volatile asset. But then you could also argue that stablecoins are there for that reason,
Well, you could also argue like Bitcoin, if you look at it in longer broad strokes, you stop looking at it month to month. It's done nothing but go up, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You could buy it now, forget about it in a year's time, and it'll probably do what it's done every year.
But I guess if someone was to argue, well, if I wanted to buy it for groceries, and I'm going to buy groceries, it's going to cost me $30 one week, and it's then going to cost me $100 the next week.
Yeah, that's right. That's where I sort of challenge, I guess, that perspective. Like, I don't think it's that payments use case.
Yeah.
For me, it's like you have a wealth portfolio that you're trying to manage. If that's what you're trying to do, maybe you don't care about this. But there are people out there that just want to not think about it, right? But for those that do, it's like, you need cash. Like, cash is just something that until society chooses that we don't use cash and cash isn't the way we operate, we need cash, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, well, what do you do with the rest of your money? You either invest it in a business, like you mentioned, your family member did, and then, or you could go and invest it in like someone else's business, like stocks.
Yep.
Or you go and invest it in other vehicles, and crypto is just one of those newer ones, right? And
well, exactly. And I think in this case, Brad's saying his mentor, so I'm assuming like investing mentor. Yeah. I think the thing to argue there is like, well, if you can't fully understand the intrinsic value, that's okay. Like, I know that's going to take time, and it will continue to sort of evolve over time as crypto expands, but it's all about portfolio diversification, right? Yep. If you've got a strong portfolio, including real estate, stocks, ETFs, commodities, all those, then why not allocate a little bit to crypto as like a maybe high risk, high reward type allocation? You don't want to really be putting all your eggs into one basket in that situation.
No, and I can actually, I like that angle, because this is the way actually I would rephrase it potentially. It's like, well, the only reason why you would actually go looking for investments is because you want to be short dollars, because you essentially don't believe that dollars are going to be the best place for you to park your money. Yeah, exactly. So when you look at all the different things that you can invest in, yes, you should have diversified portfolio, but a lot about that diversification piece, I believe, is that you need to have volatility in your portfolio as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So you get that from crypto. Crypto is the most, like, if you're looking at macro, you're looking at the overall state of what could move how much. If we do start to see things like currencies debase, like we always have every business cycle, crypto's like your best bet at this stage, in my opinion, at least. Like, I'm sure there'd be some really speculative AI stocks out there too that could do a similar thing, but this is just another option that you have.